93, 5, 25. I always feared this day would come. For years, Catherine and I have dreamed of restoring Dunny. We have dedicated our lives to the task, taking it upon ourselves to locate the citizens of Dunny and convince them to return to their ruined city and rebuild. Our dream has become the dream of so many now, and the progress we have made towards achieving it is something of which we can all stand proud. But I now know that it has been a mistake. The city of Dunny should not be restored. It should stand forever in ruins, as both a symbol of our past mistakes and a memorial to all who lost their lives when Dunny fell. The devastating events of recent months, the war on tyranny and the death of Uta in particular, have driven this truth home to me quite forcefully. If we rebuild the city walls today, are we not giving approval to the very illness that destroyed our civilization in the first place? Are we not setting ourselves up to repeat that pattern again in future generations? I have put much thought into this tonight, and I have found only one solution. If we, the men and women who survived the downfall of Dunny, are to thrive, then we must break the pattern of hatred which has destroyed so many lives. We must begin our civilization anew, and we can only do that if I write us a new age. I have spoken with Catherine about this, and she agrees. I only hope the others will see it as well. 93, 5, 26. Will these people never cease to amaze me? I thought they would object to my decision. After all, most of them linked back to Dunny specifically to see the city rebuilt. But when I told them why we should not restore it, their response was immediate and unanimous. Whereas yesterday they thought only of rebuilding, today they concentrate solely on salvage. They intend to take from their ruined city only that which is best and move on. Everywhere I look, the enthusiasm for this new task is obvious. It heartens me, even as I face my own monumental contribution. I have written many ages in my lifetime, from my first timid attempts under the tyrannical tutelage of my father to my most recent accomplishment, Averone. Never before has so much been riding on my skill. The age I am about to write must be all I ever imagined and more. How am I going to achieve it? 93, 6, 1. Catherine laughed this morning when she saw me drudging out my old notebooks. I must have made quite the picture, sitting near the embers of a fire, surrounded by countless commentaries and journals. Some of them seemed more dust than paper, but the hours I spent sifting through them was worth it. Ideas for what this new age might be are tumbling around in my head. There are almost too many to catch hold of. Obviously, I must choose some starting point as my anchor. Writing ages is a science, a precisely structured equation of words. Every equation needs as its foundation an underlying concept around which the age can develop. In the past, I have written my books around whatever idea intrigued me most at the time. I wanted to discover how the age to which the book linked would manifest the results of that idea. Sometimes civilizations had arisen, sometimes they had not. But whether a society had come to exist on the age or not, it was often in response to whatever concept the book I had written embodied. This time, my search for a concept must be weighed very carefully. I already have the civilization I wish to see develop. I know our history as a people, and the paths we have followed to arrive here. Today, I must write a book which will link to an age that will allow us to continue on our way, growing ever stronger as one people. What underlying concept must this new age reflect that will best allow our civilization to thrive? I fear I must think on this some more. 93, 6, 5. It has taken me some time, but I may have found my anchor. It came to me as I was considering what I know about the survivors of Dunny. We have seen so much tragedy in our lives, from the destruction of the city to the suffering and the loss of loved ones due to plague and deprivation, yet even in the midst of these adversities, my kinsmen and I have found the strength to keep going. We have tapped into our individual strengths and transformed ourselves into something much stronger. It is a characteristic I have seen in several of my ages. Whenever I focused my writing on the inherent energy sources in a world, long ago grandmother taught me that no life, no possibility for life in an age, exists without the presence of energy. By tapping into its latent energy sources, an age moves out of stasis. It grows, transforms, and develops. Energy is the underlying fuel that powers all activity. To put it more simply, energy powers future motion. Yet, as grandmother also liked to remind me, energy in an age takes on diverse forms. Each one has strengths and weaknesses of its own. How many forms will this new age contain? Which type will be its dominant theme? Tomorrow I will link back to Mist, and from there revisit several of my ages. Perhaps in my old worlds I will discover new ideas. 9366. I had almost forgotten how painful it is to revisit Mist. In the 10 years since my sons, Cirrus and Achenar, left me trapped on Kavir Island and burned so many of my books, Catherine and I have rarely linked back. I told myself we were always too busy, first with writing ages like Averone, then with searching the Age of Denis for survivors. I always said we would spend more time on Mist eventually. The truth is, I have been avoiding the age. Seeing the island in its current condition ignites such anger and grief. I am immediately reminded of the betrayal of my sons, as well as the cruelty and greed with which they plundered my ages. I know I am partly responsible for these acts. I constantly wonder if there were something I could have done to reach out to the boys before. Enough. Nothing can change the tragedies of the past. Like my dunny kinsman, I must salvage what is best and move on. Perhaps in the process I will find forgiveness and hope. 93-10-17. Once again I am back on Mist Island, having completed a lengthy sojourn through several of my ages. The trip itself was not as inspiring as I had hoped. The Selenitic age was especially disturbing, but has it not always been so? The very first time I linked to the age, its uninhabited landscape was shaking with tremors. At the time, I felt it was because the energy of the age was unfocused, as if it were at war with itself. Stability finally came, but even after it did, I never truly felt comfortable there. I missed the more natural balances of ages like Channelwood. Perhaps that is the lesson to take home with me. The Dunny, too, have faced much turmoil in their history. Their lives have been unsettled enough. Perhaps I should be striving to offset the energy that already exists within our civilization by providing it with a more stabilized environment in which to grow, an environment in which the natural equilibrium of the world serves as a counterpoint to the upheavals of civilization. The more I consider it, the more I wonder if I should make nature the foundation of this new age. Worlds like Channelwood attain equilibrium quite easily, primarily because of one reason. Nature encourages mutual dependence. As one life withers and dies, it provides nourishment so that it might live. Plants become food for other animals, and the waste products animals cannot absorb become nutrients to sustain other plants. So long as nothing intrudes to upset this balance, nature can maintain itself indefinitely. An interesting metaphor to set as an example for my people. I think I will confer with Catherine on this subject. Her ages always exhibit symbiosis more dramatically than mine. Perhaps she should help me write this new age. 93-10-24. I am so tired I can barely think right now. But I will force myself to stay focused, for I have not written anything in days. The moment I linked back to Dunny, I was besieged with requests for my assistance. Master Timon wanted to consult over which stonecutters were worth salvaging, and did I think the rock in this new age would be difficult to sound. Oma and Essel needed my opinion about a new history that they had uncovered. Should they hold off on starting its translation, or would paper supplies be scarce in the new age? There were so many questions needing answers. I barely had time to see Catherine. She, of course, laughed at my dilemma, saying that I had no one to blame but myself. After all, I was the one who encouraged the Dunny to start over. Naturally, they would look to me to keep them moving in the right direction unless some other force stepped in to change that view. Her words made me realize a fundamental principle I had thus far been ignoring. All this time, I had been debating whether to make energy or nature the underlying framework for this age. But there is another equation to consider. An age based solely on the future motion of energy will face constant upheavals, most likely at the cost of tranquility. And an age based solely on the mutual dependence of nature can become so balanced over time it may cease to tolerate change. Yet, to continue to grow as a people, Dunny civilization needs both. Occasional upheavals followed by periods of balanced stability. I have seen such situations occur naturally on several of my ages. Each time, it was because I centered the writing around some dynamic force that I had decided to make prevalent in the age. Such forces allow the balance between forward motion and mutual dependence to fluctuate. As one concept takes precedence, the other recedes until another force surfaces to change things. As Catherine's insightful comment reminded me, dynamic forces spur change. I am too tired to think any more on this tonight. Hopefully in the morning my thoughts will coalesce. 93-10-25. Catherine surprised me today. Apparently, while I was off visiting my ages, she linked to Mist by herself. She did not say so, but I could tell that her visit had been painful. More than ever now, I am convinced we must find a place to begin again ourselves. Perhaps when I have written this new age for the Dunny, I will put some thought into where Catherine and I might live. 93-10-28. I cannot believe I did not see it before. All this time, I had been struggling to describe the perfect age for the Dunny. I have considered and then rejected several underlying concepts which I felt might best set the course for their future, as if I alone should determine how the Dunny civilization will grow. In my own way, I have become as egotistical as my father. In truth, I owe this realization to Catherine. Sensing my indecision about the new age, she led me on a walk around Dunny. Salvaging efforts were well underway, with teams of people scouring the ruined harbor district. As I watched my Dunny kinsmen deciding which parts of their culture to retain, I realized they do not need me to determine their future. They are quite capable of setting its course by themselves, regardless of what age I write. This realization has opened my eyes to the best way of approaching my task. I no longer need to worry about which underlying concept, energy, nature, or dynamic forces I should make prevalent in the age. Rather, I must strive to include them all. I must write a balance of systems into the descriptive book, enough so that the Dunny people will constantly be challenged to attain their ultimate potential. As grandmother often pointed out to me when we spoke about ages back on Mist, balanced systems stimulate civilizations. At last, I feel I am ready to begin writing this age. Indeed, I am eager to begin and have already come up with the perfect name. I know grandmother would have loved it. Of course, Catherine could tell the moment I turned to her that I had finally found my starting point. I babbled on excitedly for some time before I noticed the smile she was hiding. When I saw it enough to grow suspicious, she handed me one of my oldest age books. She must have picked it up when she linked back to Mist. Seeing the name Jananin emblazoned on the book cover, I could only shake my head. The one age I never got around to revisiting was the one that might have helped me the most. How foolish I was to have completely forgotten it. I think, after I have finished this work, I should take one final trip, if only to restore an old fool's memories. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Wheel Trouble's Let's Play Myst 3 Exile. This is episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed that little perusal through Atris's journal regarding his writing of Relishon. Now, we are trying to get into the Tusks, so we're going to run around the island and see what we can figure out here, see how many of the doors we can open. And we're going to want to write some of this down, so I'm not going to pause too long on these, and I just strongly encourage you to write these down, kind of like we did on the dials in the last episode, so that we can move quickly through this game. Let's see, where to go. Let's go ahead and take a look at this tusk over here. And if we approach the edge of it, we can see this little manhole off to the left. This really would be a great place to just kind of set up and go fishing, isn't it? That's saying something, because I don't even really like fishing. Anyway, so down the hole, and these levers control the tilt, and there is a door in the way, so we need to come up with some system of getting this, either getting this ball out of the way or through there, one or the other. So here looks like we might be able to bring it back if we're careful with things. There we go. Now, straightening this out should allow us to use that ladder to go ahead and approach that door. This really is a pretty age. It's interesting how he went from this to Selenitic. And we have a hole. But we're going to need to get that hole plugged up. And would you look at that, we've got a method. So what we're going to go ahead and do here is go back to that control switch. You know, I missed that a ton of times just walking right by those stupid ladders. Okay. Nope. Bring that back up. Drop this side. Okay. And then bring up... Yep, that should roll. Okay, now we need to bring up that middle piece, and that should roll straight in, filling in the hole for us. And with the ladder positioned, we need to bring that up. Okay, now we have entry to that book. Let's go ahead and move on. Okay, and let's continue our journey around the island here. What should we work on next? We have access to one of the 3 tusks. Okay, little walkway down. And let's go ahead and just follow along clockwise here. And let's see what we have up here. That's an interesting looking device, isn't it? Okay, so this spins that little dome. Let's keep spinning until something breaks. It's a disco ball. Okay, so this shoots light up to an emitter, which goes to this little thing here, yellow. Keep that in mind, yellow. And looking in will show you which direction it's headed here. Okay. So the yellow is shooting to the blue, so blue is going to be number 2, and we need to find blue. And that'll help lead us to the next little emitter piece here. And when we get it right, it'll just kind of shine a certain direction here. Now you want to make sure that you're standing in the way of the beam so that you get the aim right. So you can see the left bit of that screen there, how we were in the way. So the next will be green, and it's across the island. So once we cross Jananin, we'll be able to get to that. It's going to be the fastest way. So yellow, blue, green are the 3 we have so far. They will be in that order. Got a nifty little path down here. What an odd sound. And I think even more strange is how little protection there is, considering that he meant this to be a training age for his sons. Not sure if I would award that a Father of the Year prize. Just saying. Okay. And if you guys remember from the last episode, this kind of gives us a pathway across. Okay. No real direct way up this way. What is this? Let's see what we can touch here. Hello, little guy. That actually has a name. He's called a squee. And if somebody wants to contribute one of the pewter figures that you can find on eBay, I would be much appreciated. Okay, so we fed the squee, and he seems to be quite content just munching away. Make cute little chirp sounds. Alright. So, let's see what this thing actually does. Little swan device. Okay, so it's an amplifier. Ah, so the sound of the squee caused it to grow. That's that nature dependencies thing. Okay, let's go ahead and head on up. And cross the bridge this time. Onto unfamiliar territory. Sorry, tongue-tied after all that reading. There's the green, finally. And yes, the little squee thing, that was really all we had to do to get to that door. Okay. Then take a quick look. Next is red. So the fourth one for this combination will be red. Sorry if you guys got annoyed by the jumping around, just trying to do this as efficiently as possible. Because yes, this is a puzzle game that could take forever. And remember, we're wanting to stand in line of the green, that way we can see when we spin this where we're headed. Just a time-saving measure. Nope, that's going off into Neverland. Yellow is next. It's a shame they don't give this one the real mist treatment. Yeah, see the nifty little walkway the squee amplifier thing created to that door? Cool, ain't it? Anyway, let's see. We were hunting for yellow, right? We have that perched up here. Let's go ahead and get in the way of that little light beam. There we go, that's better. Spin this around. Purple. Or violet, or whatever you want to call it. And that's really close, so let's go ahead and head over there. Fortunately, they didn't make us crisscross. It's just doing one gigantic circle. Okay, we are in line. And red. Walk our way over to the red one. So it should be just straight. And so yes, as you can see, we can circumnavigate the entire island. Okay, there's the red. Let's see where this is headed. It's going straight to an emitter that's shooting at the door. Okay, let's get out from behind this thing. It's easy to see why there were no inhabitants here. There's really not much in the way of food other than the little fruit that the squee is eating. Okay, let's go ahead and climb up these stairs here. And here you can see that color combination thing. So let's go ahead and refer to our notes and get these punched in. We got the yellow, blue, green, red, yellow, violet, red, and we're in. That simple. And do you guys remember the notes from the first episode? It's time to work this dial, and you just take those 4 marbles and you just move them to the correct position. And so far there seems to be 6 positions that I've been able to figure out. You've got the 8 marked points and then the halfway point between those. I haven't seen it more sensitive than that. If you guys are playing through the game and yours happens to be sensitive down to the 64th, let me know. But I haven't seen it that way yet. Voltaic, I'm sorry. So, it looks like Voltaic will be the first age that we're going to go ahead and link to. Let's go ahead and see what the panel looks like here before we just jump ship. And there we go. Alright. I'm willing to bet you guys can guess what the next episode's going to be, right? Yeah. We're going to go ahead and see how quickly we can get through Voltaic. Can't promise we'll make it in 1 episode, but we'll try. And with that, we'll travel out.